there, lovely people. Welcome back to another Writing Tip Tuesday. I'm Sammi, and I'm a writer who likes to help other writers become better writers. This week I want to talk to you about the benefits of writing short stories. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Sammi, I want to be an author. I want to write books. I want to be published. I want to have readers all over the world reading my books. I want to be a New York Times bestseller. I don't have time to write short stories. To which I raise you, yes, you do. So what is a short story? It's anywhere from like 500 for like super microfiction to 10,000 words. It's a self-contained story that focuses around one event or series of related events. And short stories are very different to write than a novel. So here are some things that short stories do that novels don't always do. A short story contains the story. It ends. It has to be the beginning, the middle, and the end. There is no continuing. Where a novel, yeah, it has the beginning, middle, and end, but there's a lot more room for fluff and for like veering off of the path that you were planning to take originally and trying new things, adding more characters, seeing what sticks, and playing around with it. And you can always just keep adding more books if your story can't be contained in one novel. That's how you get series. Short stories require you to finish. Not saying that novels don't require you to finish, but it is a lot easier to write 20 pages than it is to write 200 pages. You're more likely to finish a short story than you are to finish a novel. Not that you're not likely to finish a novel, it's just a lot faster and easier to finish a short story. Short stories let you try new things without having to fully flesh them out. You can try new characters, dialogue styles, world building, government stuff, general background things that require a lot of setup if you were to put them in a novel, but because it isn't a contained story, it's a little bit easier to work with to see if you like that certain aspect. Short stories also offer a lot of practice for things that will make you a better writer when you get to writing that novel or finishing that novel. So why are short stories beneficial? It gives you a place to try new things, somewhere that is a safe space that you don't have to feel like, oh, I put years into this document, I can't try something new with these characters, with this world. It's been working so far, etc., etc. You've got something whole. You've got something totally new. You've got an easier target, like 20 pages, 15 pages, 10 pages, 5 pages. You don't have to invest in a new choice for as long as you would if you were thinking about making a book out of it. You can try it out and give it a test run. They make it easier to finish. You get to experience who you are when you finish a story. You get to see what your editing process is like. You get to see what things you notice about your writing in that short piece that may help you in the future in a longer piece. If you have the tendency to write things really, really flowery when you're in a certain mood while you're writing, but then your writing changes when you're in a different mood, but you still want to write. And that's something you may need to keep an eye out for if you're like a mood writer. And you get to learn about your editing process. How many drafts does it take for you to feel confident in sending off your story to somebody else to read? How long does it take for you to feel good about receiving critique? How do you take critique? Short stories give you the opportunity to experience who you are as a writer in different parts of the process, because writing is mostly editing and taking feedback and understanding how to take feedback, what feedback is valuable, and all of that stuff. If you're not sure what kind of person you are when you take critique, this is a good place to practice. And you can learn more about what your type needs and what your type needs to work on in my video. There are a lot of techniques in short story writing that will benefit you in novel writing because it's so contained. It's such a small amount of space. You need to make sure that everything in that story is of value. All of your characters are fully fleshed out and providing something to the story. And you will have to make sure that your pacing is on and your dialogue is purposeful and all of these other things that are super beneficial to have in a long form content. You have to really hone in on when you're writing a short story. When you're writing a shorter piece, it takes less time to get to the end point, but more work to hone it in and make sure that it's good because you don't have that space to just make sure everything is fine. You don't have that space to say, oh, well, I've got 10 characters, so it's okay if I only flesh out 5 of them because the other 5 will come back later. If you've got 10 characters and they're not all fleshed out, you're gonna wanna cut some of those characters because they aren't providing what they need to be to the story. Since you didn't take the time to really build out those characters the way that you did the other 5, you really have to focus in on what every word is doing, especially if you give yourself a word limit. Very great for strengthening those techniques and learning to read your writing to keep up with those things. Writing short stories also gives you more opportunities to be ready to submit. To say, hey, I want this to be in your magazine, or hey, can you publish this? Hey, I'm gonna enter this competition for my writing, and see how you deal with rejection, for one, because there's going to be a lot of rejection when you are writing, and that is a big, big thing that you'll need to learn how to handle. And it's unfortunate, but that's just how it is. Everybody and their mom wants to be a writer, and everybody and their mom will submit something. These places that take submissions get really, really good at doing the least amount of work to kick people out. So you can't take every time that there is a rejection as your work is not good enough. You have to take some of it as, I need to make this really stand out because it's not doing enough yet. Or if you win a competition, or if you get accepted from one of those submissions into a publication, now you have a validation that you can be like, great, I am a writer. I'm a published writer. I'm an award-winning writer. Even if it's something simple, like a really, really small competition, or a really, really small, like your school's literary magazine or a school's literary magazine, something along those lines. Even if you have that, you still get to say those words. You still get to say them. And that can be really motivating for those days that you may be experiencing writer's block or imposter syndrome. There's also nothing out there that says you can't publish a book of short stories. In fact, people do it very often, and some of them perform really, really well. Some may even be New York Times bestsellers, maybe. Even if you are writing short stories, you are still working towards that goal of becoming a New York Times bestseller. If you are experiencing writer's block on a bigger project, it can be really refreshing for your brain and your creative process to take the time to sit down and write a story from start to finish and take a look at that, take a crack at something smaller, something simple, and just let creative juice flow in a different direction than where you have been forcing it to go that's causing that mental block. And it keeps you on a path to keeping up a writing routine. So let me know in the comments what your opinions of writing short stories are. Do you think it's a waste of time? Do you think it's super valuable? How many short stories have you written? And what is the shortest short story you have written? Have they helped you? Let's have a chat in the comments. But that's all that I've got for you today. If you enjoyed this video, if you learned something, please leave a like. It'll really help me out and help YouTube show this video to more people who may learn something. If you don't want to miss any of my videos, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell next to it. I'm here every Tuesday and Saturday for Writing Tip Tuesdays and Story Study Saturdays, so I will see you guys on Saturday for a story study.